Welcome to a presentation on how to set up 123Sync server with Exchange. A couple of general principles we'd like to cover. One, wherever you have 123Sync server installed, an ACT client has to be installed. We use the ACT libraries to access ACT, so you need the ACT client installed. There are two ways that we access Exchange folders. One is using a working connection to the folder through the CDO MAPI connection. The other is using Outlook as the interface. Let's look at a couple of configurations that we've put together and we support. One of them is we have the ACT database server with 123Sync installed, and you can either have a CDO MAPI or Outlook installed on that server, and that will interface with Exchange. Or we have a standalone ACT server and you install 123Sync server with a CDO MAPI, and you need the ACT client installed on the Exchange server in order for this configuration to work. Another configuration is you have an independent desktop. On a desktop you have ACT and Outlook or CDO installed, and you install 123Sync server, and 123Sync server will interface with the ACT database server and with the Exchange server. Another configuration is to have both ACT and Exchange on the same box and have 123Sync with CDO MAPI installed. That it reduces the amount of size, and you have everything running on one machine. Some system admin don't like having ACT and Exchange on the same machine, so it's up to your system admin to decide this. We have seen a lot of hosted Exchange through the cloud, and the way to do it is we have an ACT database server, and on that server we installed 123Sync server, and we access the hosted Exchange either through CDO MAPI or through Outlook. This depends on whether your hosted Exchange supplier requires you to use CDO or Outlook in order to log in to their system. We also have configurations where we have an independent desktop that interfaces with the hosted Exchange and the ACT database server. That tends to make it a small solution where you can actually access both systems centrally. 99% of our questions we get about our server is about what we call the Exchange challenge. What is the best configuration decision on how to configure by location, or do we need to do an integrator independent installation? Do we install 123Sync server on the ACT server Exchange or on the client? Well, that is up to the system manager of the site that you're installing, and we as a provider, we really cannot decide that. One thing we can do is provide you with the tools, and then you can decide how to do it easier and better. The biggest challenge we have on the installation of the 123Sync server is how do you connect the server to Exchange. And what we've seen is most of people have a fairly poor understanding on how to connect to Exchange. They know how to deal internally within Exchange, but how to connect to it. And there's also a fear of Exchange that we've seen, and a total lack of knowledge on how to configure Outlook or even CDO MAPI to connect to Exchange. Exchange makes most system integrators fearful and scared. Well, fear no more. We have 3 easy steps to connect to Exchange. Let's see what we can do. There are 2 ways 123Sync uses to access the Exchange server. One is by using an external mechanism, either through Outlook or through Windows or through CDO MAPI, in which it accesses the Exchange server through a mailbox user credentials. The second way is by accessing Exchange through the internal box. So 123Sync resides on the box and resides with Exchange and accesses the user's mailboxes through Exchange. Well, let's just cover real quickly what CDO-MAPI is. CDO-MAPI is a set of libraries that enables communications with Exchange without the need to have Outlook installed. Where do you get CDO-MAPI? You can download it directly from the Microsoft.com website. Just type CDO/MAPI on the search and you can follow the directions, the download directions, and you can get it. Why do you need to reinstall CDO-MAPI? We've seen in installations of ACT that ACT actually corrupts the CDO-MAPI transport layer. So in order for us to restore it to what it is, you need to uninstall CDO-MAPI and reinstall it from the Microsoft website so we have a working CDO-MAPI. There are files that ACT puts in there that you have to remove. All these instructions are listed on our website at 123sync.com. So let's address the 3 easy steps to connect to Exchange. Step number 1, you need to establish the login credentials to connect with Exchange. These credentials, if you're a client on the network, is the Windows network login parameters to log in to that user's mailbox. If you are resident on the Exchange server, it's basically the standard login of the Exchange. Step 2, you need to set the correct permissions in Exchange. These permissions allow you to access the mailboxes in Exchange, therefore opening the world for you to synchronize with. Step 3, you need to install the correct interface to connect with Exchange. If you're using Outlook, then you need to set up the delegates so you can have access to the folders. If you're using CDO-MAPI configuration, all you need to do is make sure that CDO-MAPI is functional on the machine, and it may require a removal and reinstallation of the CDO-MAPI. So let's address the issue of connecting to Exchange from a client machine. So if you use Outlook, get the correct Exchange server login to the client on the client machine. You set the permissions on Exchange, and then you just set up the delegates in Outlook. So now you have the whole environment already set up in order for 123Sync to access it. Using CDO-MAPI to connect to Exchange, you need 3 things as well. First, you need a working CDO-MAPI on the client machine. You need to correct Exchange server login on the client machine. And on the Exchange, you need to set the permissions in order for that client machine through the login can access the other users' mailboxes.